Much
This
everyone
meeting is
for
being recorded.
thank you. So yeah, we're gonna be recording it. There are some people who aren't able to attend. Let me just make sure we don't have any feedback. My colleagues are getting all that set up and make sure everyone's muted. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are so excited to have all of you here. I know it's been a whirlwind of everything has been just overwhelming and just kind of making sure that we have everything that we need. Like I was mentioning to another group, that this group had to deal with the pandemic in the freshman year and then now a change in FAFSA. So it has been overwhelming to say the least, but we are so happy that you are by far the most resilient class on the planet. And we are here to support you in every way, shape, and form. So we wanted to make sure that we updated all of you on how things have been going, any changes, any next steps. So we want to make sure that you are all aware of what's happening so that we can support you through all those next steps. So I'm going to go ahead and let Griffin, our keynote speaker, share some updates and some great information. Go ahead, Griffin.
Alrighty, thank you, Donna, and hello, everyone. My name is Griffin Shaulis. I see mostly familiar names, actually, which is good. So folks who I haven't met yet, I am one of Pacific's undergraduate financial aid counselors and work kind of coincide with Stacie Englund in our office too, who works with our students who have last names M through Z. I work with students' last names A through L, and do a lot of our general outreach events like this. So you've probably seen me if you've done senior preview days, if you've done other Zooms with our admissions counselors, lunch with a Boxer, I've been on those as well. So it's good to see you all, and thank you for being here. And like Donna said, it has been a little bit of a different year in regards to financial aid. And, I think first, just want to thank everyone for giving our office, grace and hanging in there. I know it's been a whirlwind, and we're starting to get packages in people's hands, and there are still folks who are still waiting for some stuff to arrive. But hang in there. If you're still waiting for some info on your side, things are on the way. We're starting to finalize kind of all of the FAFSAs that we've gotten on our end and are going through. We've gotten just about every single one that has some sort of data hiccup on the Fed side reprocessed and sent back to us. But if you still haven't gotten something, connect with Stacie or myself, and we can check in on the progress of that and kind of see where we're at and see if there's any hiccups or anything else that's needed on our side. And like Donna was mentioning, what I'm going to go into today is going to be some info for just some next steps. We're going to talk about kind of where we're going to go from here, some things to be aware of moving forward once you get that financial aid package and students get that actual digital notice from our office as well. And so, like I said, first thing I want to highlight is that our office is around, right? And I know these past couple of weeks, we've had a little bit of a lengthier turnaround time for email responses as we've been keeping our heads down on our desks, getting those awards out. But we are open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have our main office email, our office phone number, and then I've attached here the emails for both myself and Stacie Englund in our office as well. I'm going to go into a little bit of information on these things down here at Boxer Online and your financial aid self-service, which folks might hear kind of as they go through that information as well. So really, the biggest thing is just stay connected with us, right? If you have a question for financial aid that comes up, we want to make sure that we can address it. If there's anything that you need, we want to make sure that we can kind of help you out and guide you through this process, right? Through this kind of wonky financial aid year as things come up, because I know that at least Pacific's extended deadline date, June 1, is coming up. I know some schools have also extended their dates. I know some schools have stuck to some earlier dates as well. So just stay in touch with us and with our office if you have questions or if there's anything else that is needed at all. Like I said, today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you all are going to actually use to manage your financial aid here at Pacific. So I'm going to talk about Boxer Online, what's called our financial aid self-service screens, some things in studentaid.gov, and then I also want to talk a little bit about some student employment opportunities as well. And then at the end here, we're going to open it up to some Q&A. Like we're going to get you into potentially some rooms with your counselors to get some questions answered as well too. So stick around if you've got any general financial aid questions that you'd like addressed to. So Boxer Online, or Boxer Online, finalize.pacificu.edu. This is where not only your financial aid information, but a whole bunch of other information where you're going to be a student is going to live, right? What we're going to talk about today is just going to be the financial aid tab in this screen here, but student self-service or their Boxer online is going to contain things like access to transcripts. It's going to contain a whole bunch of different information in regards to getting registered for courses and things like that. So students are going to get very familiar with this. Parents or students are going to be accessing their financial aid through this screen as well. So you'll probably help them navigate this as you start getting those notices and those packages from our office here. And when you click in to manage my financial aid, that's going to take you actually through here to our main screen, which we call our financial aid self-service. On this screen, there's going to be a couple different things. You'll see your checklist, which I'll go into on the next slide, and then some additional information up there at the top, and then also some links on the right too. If you ever want to navigate more quickly to something on the checklist, you can actually click on the middle tab in the top of the screen, and it'll get you down into a specific area on the checklist that you can access. Folks will gain access to this once they get a digital notice from our office that their financial aid package is ready to be viewed. So students, once your financial aid package is available, you get a digital notice sent to your email. In the email are instructions for how to access the financial aid self-service portal as well. Going down, this is really where your financial aid at Pacific lives, right? We send you that paper package for folks who've potentially gotten the digital notice but haven't gotten the paper package yet. Once you get your digital notice, that means your paper financial aid package is on the way. So you'll get that paper your first year, but then from here on out, and when you're continuing students, your financial aid is going to actually exist here in your financial aid self-service. On this, you're going to see what's called your checklist. And this checklist, you'll notice here on this one, there are some items that are green, and you'll see that there are some items that are yellow. And the difference is that the items that are green are things that have been completed and that you don't need to take action on anymore. And then your items that are going to be yellow that say action needed mean that there's something that students need to get completed before start of school. There's no specific deadline in regards to students' financial aid self-service checklist. We do recommend that students have things complete at least 2 weeks before the start of the term. So at Pacific, that would fall somewhere middle of August. Here on the right, on this screen, you'll also see some links that I'll talk a little bit about later on as well. So just know we're going to kind of break down each of these different things on your self-service. Things that are green are things that you have done. Things that are yellow are things that you're going to need to get some action onto. Like I said, on the right-hand side here, we have some really helpful links. Ones that I really like to highlight are this top one, which is our privacy release form for the financial aid office. So at Pacific, we are bound by federal privacy laws in regards to students and who we can communicate with. So for now, since students aren't officially enrolled here at Pacific University and haven't started classes, we don't need any sort of documentation or privacy release form to talk to parents or other family members about a student's financial aid. Once students start classes officially here in the fall at Pacific, to talk to anyone who isn't the student about that financial aid package or any financial aid info, we need to receive a financial aid privacy release form on our office. So students can navigate directly to this from this link in the checklist. So make sure to have this on your students' radar. We have this available on our website as well. And then when folks are here for orientation in the fall, we're going to have tons of printed out paper versions of these as well for folks to access to. Down below that privacy release form, there are some other links that take people directly to different federal websites. So it'll take people directly to studentaid.gov where they can access that FAFSA. It takes people to the PLUS loan application, which we'll talk a little bit about later on, and then some additional loan resources as well. And then that last item there is our secure document upload for our office. So if there's any sort of documentation that our office needs to collect from students or parents, that is the place that people can upload those. And you'll see those in your required documents section on this actual checklist too. So going through this checklist, if there are things that our office needs to collect to officially finalize some financial aid information for students, that'll show up as yellow in that required documents section. Clicking into that required documents section will show specifically what we need. And then everything that's going to be in there is going to be hyperlinked that will take you to where you can find either more information about what we specifically need, why we need it, and then also a way to actually upload that information to us as well. So if you see required documents as saying action needed on that checklist, make sure you check it out, because we want to make sure that anything that's needed on our end to finalize your aid, we actually have, so that we can get you a finalized financial aid package. Moving further down the checklist, students will come to a point where they'll need to go through and accept or decline all of the financial aid that's been offered to them. And in the checklist, this is actually going to be organized in two different ways. So at the top will be specifically scholarships and grants. So again, we love scholarships and grants, funds that students get that they don't have to pay anything back for. And then further on down the checklist in the accept awards section will be any loan eligibility that they have as well. So it'll separate out the loans and the scholarships and grants to make it super clear what needs to be paid back and what doesn't as well. One thing to note is another way that you can check if there's anything else that our office might need from you is if it will not let you accept or decline anything in that checklist, it likely means that your award is estimated and there's some documentation that we need in that required documents section. So just make sure you go through. If it won't let you either accept or decline, go back out to the checklist, see if there's anything else out there that we need, and then you'll know if you're good to go or if there's anything else that our office is going to be waiting on. A couple other things as we move down the checklist further for students. For anyone who's going to be potentially borrowing federal direct loans, right? So students, if you're going to be accessing either that subsidized loan or potentially that unsubsidized loan through the federal government, there are going to be two items on the checklist that students need to complete before our office can do anything with that loan. So students can accept it in their checklist, but until these two items are actually completed on the federal government side, nothing's going to happen to the loan, and it's like it won't even get dispersed on our side if these items aren't finished. And these are what's called direct loan entrance counseling and a master promissory note. Clicking on those links as well in the checklist will take you directly to the webpage that you need to actually be at to view this information as well. So just click on those links and it should take you here to the federal student aid pages where you can access entrance counseling and the MPN. Entrance counseling is basically just a student loan crash course, really. It's loan information, so I always tell students it's pretty dry, not very interesting, but it is really, really, really helpful information, and it's required too. So what students will do is go in, they'll log in using their FSA ID, so what they use to actually fill out that FAFSA, and then they'll go through and complete entrance counseling. In sitting down with students, I find it takes typically 20 to 30 minutes. Folks can get it done and get it completed in that amount of time, and then they'll be good to go on their way. The master promissory note is a shorter document. It's basically just a thing that students sign that says, hey, I understand that these are federal student loans and that at some point they need to be paid back. So this takes typically about 5 minutes for students to complete. Same deal as entrance counseling. You'll log in, you'll go through your FSA ID, you'll complete the master promissory note, and then once those two items are complete, we can post those loans in the fall. For folks who don't want to go through that checklist and are looking for where those can be accessed on the actual federal student aid pages, if you go up to the top of the screen here, you'll see the loans and grants tab. Clicking on that will put this drop-down menu. Then you'll see master promissory note and loan entrance counseling there as well. And you can click on those to get directly to that information too as well. So you can access it a couple different ways as well, which is super helpful for students who are going to be navigating different parts of studentaid.gov. Another thing I always like to mention is we're getting to the time where students might start hearing about potential outside scholarships that they're getting, right? So whether that be from their high school, from local organizations, or if you've applied to any scholarships online, folks are going to start hearing back about those awards. Once you do start hearing back, what you can actually do is you can report those scholarships in your financial aid self-service, and then we'll be able to actually add that scholarship to your financial aid package so you can see it on your financial aid picture from Pacific University. So you have a holistic view of all of the aid that you're expecting actually on that financial aid package, which is super helpful. So like I said earlier, that middle tab at the top of the screen, if folks click on that, they'll see report/view outside scholarships. Clicking on that will bring you to this screen where you can add a scholarship. You can tell us who it's coming from, what amount it's coming in, and then we get a notice of that on our end to add to that financial aid package, and then we send an updated notice to students with all that information included as well. Finally, the last thing on that checklist is going to be the offer letter. And that is where folks will be able to view kind of the entire picture of the financial aid that was offered. It'll go through and break down, kind of similar to the accept award screen. It'll break down all of the scholarships. It'll break down all of the loan opportunities that students are eligible for. And then at the bottom, give a total of the financial aid package as well. Clicking on that paper icon will allow folks to access a PDF. I believe right now the PDF is downloadable, but I know that there's some visual errors that our tech folks are working on to get fixed, but folks should be able to access those here within the next week or two and get that PDF actually downloaded on that financial aid self-service as well. Finally, down at the bottom will be where people can actually officially sign that offer letter to officially accept their financial aid for the year. Before doing so, there are some terms and conditions in regards to financial aid eligibility that I always encourage folks to kind of read through before they sign. And then one other thing too, like I mentioned earlier, similar to knowing if your awards are estimated, because there are documents that we still need. If you have not accepted or declined all of your scholarships and your loans, you will not be able to sign the actual offer letter. So if you get down there and it won't let you sign, that typically means that you have something in review and accept that you haven't accepted or declined on our end. So just make sure you get in and check that if it actually won't let you sign that offer letter here too. Kind of shifting gears, want to talk really quickly about student employment, right? So folks on those financial aid packages have potentially seen work study eligibility through the federal government. Some folks might not be work study eligible. This information is really good either way. Just want to preface it for folks who are going to potentially be interested in looking at positions on campus here in the fall. Going to any Pacific University webpage, if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, you'll see the careers tab that I've highlighted with a red square here. Clicking on that or going to pacificu.edu jobs will take folks to this screen where you can access all of our student worker positions. This will take you to an external site called Paycom that you won't need to do anything with right now. But once you get here in the fall, if you're interested in working, you'll want to make an actual account with Paycom so that you'll be able to start applying for student jobs here through our student job portal if you're interested in working. One thing to note is that every single position in here is going to be labeled either FWS, Federal Work Study, or NWS, non-work study. And so those tags just indicate who the positions are for, right? So FWS positions are open to folks who are federal work study eligible as per the FAFSA. NWS positions are open to folks who are potentially not work study eligible. No difference for students. The only difference happens on the back end, and that's just where people are getting paid from, right? Whether that is Pacific's work study budget or from the department allocation of whoever they're employed through campus in. Finally, got to give it a plug for the social media. We are at Pacific Youth in Aid on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We post outside scholarships. We post reminders throughout the year. We post once actually our continuing student scholarships are open. So these are going to open in December and are going to actually be for our current students. So students who are starting in the fall will be able to apply for these scholarships starting in December. That would be a part of their financial aid package for the coming years, right? So there are awards that range anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 for students who are going to be sophomores, juniors, seniors. So please have your students engage with these. I'll post reminders about it on social media once they're open, and we'll be posting posters and things around campus as well. Attaching one last time, the contact information for both myself and Stacie Englund in our office. Like I said, I just ran through a lot of information. It's a big year for financial aid in regards to changes. Kind of like Donna was mentioning, this class, you all are troopers. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of challenges. I know that, you know, it's stressful, right? And I think that it's okay to admit that and know that, you know, Stacie and myself are here. If you're looking for any additional resources, if you're looking to set up an appointment, please get in touch with us. We are both checking our email. We're both setting up appointments weekly over Zoom, in person. If you want to chat on the phone really quick, get in touch with us if there's anything at all that you need, because you got a group of people here at Pacific who are ready to help, right? And you've got all your admissions counselors here too who know who to connect you with, right? Whether that be myself, Stacie, or any other offices here at Pacific that might be able to help out any super specific questions that you have as well too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Griffin. I know that's a lot that we've covered, and thank you for always bringing simplicity in a very complicated process. I know that some families are wondering some updates. I know that a handful of families have submitted appeal letters. Could you give us an update on that process and how things are going on your end?
Yeah. So we've got all of the appeal letters on our side organized, and we're going through and reviewing right now those additional aid considerations. So I know folks have been waiting for a bit. Sit tight, hang in there. Updates are coming. Right now, our office is trying to balance, getting appeal letters reviewed for folks who we've sent things to, and then also getting things sent out to people who need just something to compare to other schools, right? So it's always a balancing act, and I know that there are folks who are waiting on some updates. So we're going to start sending out some updates regarding those appeals this week. So keep an eye on emails. And then from here on out, I'd say just start checking in with Stacie and I regularly, because I know we're coming down to crunch time as we approach June 1st too. So
Yeah, thank you, Griffin. I know that some of you may not even had a chance to create an appeal letter. Some of you, this is the first that you're hearing from it. So feel free to reach out to your admissions counselor to talk about, and then let us help you coach through it, because maybe we can ask some questions about changes in income or things outside of your mortgage that's kind of become a burden for you. Sometimes you have an asset that's taking more than giving, right? So I think it's always important to be able to have that platform to explain your financial situation. So if you do need help, please reach out to your admissions counselor and we can look at it, make sure we have everything covered, cite some numbers so Griffin and Stacie can make the best decision to see how we can support you. So thank you, Griffin, for the update on the appeal letters. The other thing, yeah, we have some questions that came in. One question, Griffin, that came to me was about just making sure, in terms of some families have received a grant or a federal grant. They're wondering if it's going to be given all 4 years, or what would have to change for them to lose that particular grant.
Yeah, really good question. So talking specifically about some things that are going to renew versus not renew automatically. So federal grants are going to be based on FAFSA information from year to year. So to remain eligible, just make sure to get that FAFSA filed every year. Next year will be better in regards to the FAFSA operating. I'm hopeful that they'll push back that opening date to October again. So just make sure whenever the FAFSA ends up opening for next year, you're getting that in. Those grants amounts can change from year to year, and since FAFSA information is based on tax info from 2 years prior, if there are big sweeping changes across the board to incomes, sometimes grant eligibility on the federal side can change. But typically, I find if things are pretty constant, it remains pretty much the same. If people are anticipating big swings in either direction, I always recommend that, once the FAFSA opens up and they get an idea of what that info looks like as they start entering in, reach out to Stacie and myself and we can talk about some options too. In regards to grants that you're potentially see on that financial aid package that aren't federal, if anyone sees a Pacific grant on your financial aid package, those are going to renew all 4 years, regardless of FAFSA information and changes. So those will stay the same amounts and will stay constant as well.
Yeah, thank you, Griffin. I know one question a family just asked about the tuition and everything that it covers. So just to let you folks know that we did itemize everything to have the direct costs as well as indirect costs. And indirect costs, as you know, can vary. Some people will spend less on transportation, some will spend less on books or more on books. But we wanted to give you a clear understanding of the potential of what it would cost to attend Pacific for the first year. But we want to make sure that you're comparing direct costs with other institutions. And just to let you know that Uncle Jeff had provided a really great spreadsheet for all of us counselors to use to work with you. So if you're comparing a few schools and you want us to help break that down for you, because one school seems cheaper or another's, we seem more expensive. We want to make sure that there's no discrepancy on what's really happening. And we want to make sure that we itemize that with you and look at everything and make sure that we're helping you understand the costs. And just to let you know that it's covering at minimum 12 credits and at most 18 credits. And we do have that Jan term. So we have a Jan term that students can take a course on our campus to get rid of some credits. And this has happened for some student athletes who want to take a lighter load during their season, and maybe they want to get rid of a few credits during the Jan term. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware that our tuition covers a January term that some schools will charge you for it, or may not include that in some of their options when you go to their institution. Another question, Griffin, about when they're looking at housing. I think that came through in the chat, and they had asked about housing and how that plays a role in aid. Can you speak to anything on that?
Yeah, so kind of I'm looking at the question here, and for initiating the process for an exemption to living off campus, I think, is that how do we initiate the process for an exemption to living on campus? Assuming that meant to say off campus, I'm going to attach in the chat a link to our housing's website where they have a webpage specifically about the housing requirement and what the specific exemptions are and how to go through and request a waiver to that requirement to live on campus. That will not impact the aid offered. So if you've received a financial aid package at this point and you got one that says on campus, but you're planning to live off campus, we're not going to change any of the financial aid that you've already gotten from us here. So it'll stay the same. You'll just get an updated financial aid package that will indicate specifically for off campus.
And also to add on that, if you feel that your student would like to have special accommodations to receive a special type of housing assignment, for example, a single room, that's going to go through our Office of Accommodations. And that's something that we can put in the chat as well. So if there's something like a medical issue or something that they would need some additional support, that would be something that you would work through that office, and they can kind of break that down for you if that's something that you guys need. Griffin, another question that popped up is trying to see if someone's SAI number says they cannot be calculated due to errors. They've contacted FAFSA multiple times, in which they said there were no errors. Will the SAI be calculated by Pacific University, or is this an error on the FAFSA side?
Yeah, so for a situation like that, I would say the best thing to do, if you haven't done so, is reach out to Stacie or myself, and we can kind of see what we're looking at on our side. I know that folks are getting subsequent messages from studentaid.gov that they either have things that are incomplete or they have to sign their FAFSA still when they've actually done it. And I've finished a FAFSA this year by myself just to test it, and I'm still getting emails that say that I need to do something that I don't. So reach out to Stacie or myself. We can look on our end to see kind of what information we have and if there's anything missing. And then we can always, if we need to, kind of try to get into the back end to see if we can make it so you don't have to try to get in touch with someone at studentaid.gov, because I know that can be a rabbit hole to go down. So
yeah, thank you, Griffin. Definitely reaching out to your admissions counselor to see maybe we can answer that question, because I know Griffin and Stacie are working really hard to work on a lot of those emails and appeal letters that are coming in. So feel free to reach out to us. One question that came in was a person is supporting another student that's his godson. And so wondering at that point, are we looking at what are the options for filing as an independent for the student so they can receive potentially additional loans outside of the person supporting them? Yeah.
So the process for kind of appealing the FAFSA to do what's called a dependency override, so that's changing someone from dependent to independent on the FAFSA, has really specific criteria that the feds are required to have people fall under. The best thing to do, and this is going to be the default to a lot of the questions probably, is to reach out to Stacie or myself, and we can review your situation, kind of chat with you and get a sense of what's going on specifically, and then guide you towards whatever the best fit on that FAFSA is going to be. For some situations, we can change students to independent given certain scenarios. For some students, there are really tough situations that we still can't. So get in touch with Stacie or myself, and we can kind of, look at your situation case by case to see what we can do. Just because situations really differ and the FAFSA is a beast unto its own, it is going to differ heavily case by case.
Yeah, thank you, Griffin. I know that one thing that came in as well is wondering about pretty much what do we do next, with the loan options, because the student is not considered independent. Now they're following under the umbrella of having their parents or supporters be the one to take on this financial next steps. Can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that Parent Plus loan or any other options that you see to bridge that gap?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about some additional loan options, and then I'll also go into some info kind of about some payment plan options with our business office too as well. And so for additional loans that exist outside of just the federal direct student loans, so on those financial aid packages, people are going to see eligibility for either the unsubsidized loan or the unsubsidized loan and that subsidized loan up to $5,500 for the year. And so that amount is the maximum that students can borrow through the federal government. And I think I saw a question actually that came in chat about this, so I'm going to knock two out in one here. That subsidized loan does not accrue interest while students are in school, where that unsubsidized loan does begin to accrue interest while students are in school. But with both of the federal student loans, students don't enter any sort of repayment while they're in school and won't enter repayment until a 6-month grace period after their graduation. Outside of that $5,500 in loan eligibility, there are a couple options and avenues that students pull from. And so kind of like Donna was mentioning, one of these is going to be what's called the Parent Plus loan. And this is another federal loan that is actually borrowed by the parent of a dependent undergraduate student. And it can be borrowed up to whatever the remaining cost of attendance is at a school for the year, right? So it can be borrowed anywhere from, under $1,000 up to potentially between $20,000 to $30,000, whatever the student's remaining cost of attendance is the amount that the plus loan can be borrowed in. There is an application process that parents need to go through online. It's a pretty quick application and parents are notified pretty much instantly whether they've been approved or denied. The approval or denial doesn't give people a different rate. Parents get the same interest rate across the board, whether they're regardless of credit score. It's just an approval or a denial for that Parent Plus loan. Just like the student loans, parents can request to have the loan deferred while their student is in school. So as people go through the application for that Parent Plus loan, they'll come to a screen that will ask if parents would like in-school deferment. And what that does is it defers any sort of mandatory payments on the Plus loan while your student is actually an enrolled student too. There isn't any sort of prepayment penalty on the Plus loan. So folks who are looking to make payments while students are in school, totally do so. Always helps put the loan in a better spot when you need to actually start making repayments on it as well. And then kind of transitioning outside of the Parent Plus loan to some additional options. There are also called private student loans, which are going to be loans that are actually also borrowed in the student's name. But these aren't accessed through any federal source. These are going to be through private lending companies that work with students. So people might have heard of some folks like Discover, Sallie Mae, Earnest, and these are lending companies that lend to students. And so students will complete an application actually through those loans website. And those types of loans will do a hard credit check to determine interest rates, repayment plans, and things like that. For most incoming students, they will need some form of cosigner on the loan. And usually that ends up being parents for folks. So just be aware as people are looking at those private student loan resources, those are going to be in the student's name. That Parent Plus loan is going to be in the parent's name as well. And then in regards to actually payments to Pacific University, our business office, the payment date for fall semester is August 15th. That's the same every year, never changes. And that's going to be the date for either the fall semester payment or it's going to be the first date for the fall semester payment plan. So our business office has a payment plan which splits the semester installment into 4 monthly payments. So the first payment being August 15th, and then monthly on the 15th through November in the fall semester. And then they have the same option for spring semester, which starts in January and goes through April. Our business office is really, really good about being flexible with payment plans. So I always tell folks if they have something that might work better for them, if you need to extend a payment plan an extra month or two, get in touch with our business office, chat with them about what you need. They're really good about being flexible and tailoring those payment plans to different scenarios and situations.
Yeah, thank you, Griffin. I know that, basically what Griffin is saying is that there's still a process that we can support you with because we all know even with the EFC or SAI, our family contribution, we look at that number and think, where is that money coming from? There's all this money that I don't even see because if I did, I'd be in Vegas and having fun or going on many trips. It's like, no. So I think the important first step is is really talk to your admissions counselor to make sure that we're supporting you with, and there's no minimum of a gap to file for an appeal. And just to lay everything on the table, have that, give you that space, that voice to be able to say, hey, even though the SAI or the EFC says that we can contribute this much, there's something that we have to share that's going on in our financial picture so we can understand. So work with your admissions counselor. This next thing to do is to really work with us and let us help you compare financial aid packages. We're not going to say, hey, come to Pacific no matter what. We want to make sure that it makes sense, make sure that it seems realistic for your family, because in the end, it's going to come from your family to pay for that bill, to make sure in these 4 years you're successful and be able to stay. But we want to make sure that you have clear and simplified information so that you can make that choice on your own. And when there is still a gap, and let's say Griffin and Stacie work so hard and they're bound by whatever they're given, and they want to give you 100% tuition free, but they're bound by their resources. And so I think it's important as a family unit to have that discussion and say, what happens if Griffin says, we tried the best that we can and we can't offer you any more than we've given. And then now you're left with a remaining balance of about $30,000. And you have to have that conversation, including with your student, to say, hey, we have a parent plus loan option, or there's a HELOC option to get a better rate, or you're going to work this summer. Whatever that conversation has to happen so that your students, because a lot of them, I used to be a high school counselor, and sometimes they don't apply for scholarships because they don't realize that money is not going to fall on tree. They're like, oh, my parents got it. They can take care of it. But once they understand how big the gap is, how important it is that you are willing to take out this parent plus loan, but you do need support later on. You do need help paying for it after 6 months after they graduate. Maybe they'll work this summer and maybe they'll find a job. Like what Griffin said, there's options for them to find a job to maximize their work study. And even Griffin also is aware of some scholarships that are still available. So if there might be some options still right now to apply for scholarships. So the best thing to do is to remember that you are not on your island alone. It's an overwhelming time, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you through every step. And if it comes to it where you're like Donna or whoever your admissions counselor, that we come to June 1, but we still want to make this happen, could we file an extension? And we're still working with Griffin. We're still creating some paperwork. I'm still working on some scholarships. We're still talking to grandma, auntie, uncle to make this work. Please be open and honest with us so we can make sure that we reserve that spot for your student and we make sure we have everything lined up for the upcoming year. So we just wanted to make sure that you understand the process of financial aid. It's not, here's an aid package and that's it. It's a conversation that you have with not only myself and your admissions counselor, but also with financial aid. Uncle Jeff, did you have something to add?
No, I think the biggest thing is that, and Donna's been saying this, so is Griffin. I mean, we're all here to help you guys and support you, and it is a process. It's not a sprint. And so if you need more time after June 1st, any of your counselors can give you more time. We want to make sure that we're giving you all the information you need to make a good decision for you and your family, right? We obviously, we're very biased. We want you to be boxers. That's the thing. We want you to be here. So I know that our colleagues, Griffin and Stacie, will do everything possible. If there's anything they can do, then they'll give their very best to make whatever they can happen. But it is important to know that we're going to be here and let us know what we can do to support, right? And then there was a question, Donna, about housing and meal plan pricing.
Yeah, so what we're gonna have is that what you saw in direct costs, it included meal plan as well as housing in that breakdown. If you have any questions about, we're gonna be sending bills out in July, so you get a true itemized bill in July for your family to look at, as well as the housing assignment and the default meal plan. So you'll be able to see that in July. And again, what Griffin said, where you can opt in for a meal or a payment plan that can be broken down a little bit smaller. And if you need help with that, I know that when you're looking at those numbers, they can get overwhelming. So just chime us in. We're ready for you, ready to meet with you on on Zoom, or maybe you're on the way to work and maybe you just want to talk through it with us. We want to make sure we're helping you with that. And Griffin, I know that you're going to be jumping on another Zoom on Thursday. So we have another Zoom. It's going to be 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, and based on your time zone in Hawaii, it's going to be earlier at 9:30. And then if you're at another time zone, yeah, but it will be 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. So I don't know about you, but I would want to hear this over and over. Griffin covered a lot of really great information. So if you want to hop on again and chime in someone else and say, hey, you know what? Bring your spouse or grandma, grandpa, or your student and say, hey, you got to listen in on this and make sure we are all on the same page on what the next steps are and what options we have. Feel free to bring them in. We're going to be in here one more time on Thursday. So please let us know. And in the meantime, reach out to our admissions counselor. If you don't know who that is or you have any questions, reach out to myself. We're all on their admissions page to support you, no matter where you're from. But yeah, Griffin, anything else to add as we conclude today?
No, I think just to, say it for the millionth time, just let us know what you need, right? Like Jeff said, if there's anything at all, reach out to us. And I know, as we approach June 1st, if you need more time, just let us know and we're happy to accommodate. Like Jeff said, our part of all of our jobs is to help students get into a better place when they leave Pacific than when they showed up, right? And that's what Pacific does. And we're not going to accomplish that by forcing you to make a decision before you're ready and before there are still things that are left on the table. So, communicate with us, communicate with your admissions folks, and we'll get through it, folks. You are going to be the class that survived the FAFSA 2024. So, you all deserve t-shirts at least, I think. So we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, thank you, Griffin. Yeah, it's like one of those when you're on Disneyland ride, you survive the craziest ride for the past 4 years. And you know what? We can't promise a perfect experience in the next chapter, but we can promise that we'll be there for all of you and your families. So we'll be in touch. Our communication specialist, Shelly Charles, will be sending the recording out. So if you want to rewatch it and look through those slides, feel free to look at it and let us know if you have any questions. And we would love to see all of you or some additional guests on Thursday. So thank you for your sacrifice, parents that are on here. I know that you guys are juggling 50 million things, students that are here supporting, and so you can translate to your parents and supporters. Thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully in the fall, but until then, we're going to take things a step at a time. Thank you so much, family. Thank you so much, Griffin. Really appreciate you being here to be open and transparent with us. And we hope you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.